Hey there, guys. It's Noah again. Today we're going to go over buying a bass. Now, this will most likely be more applicable for those of you who are new to learning an instrument. So, if you have decided that you are going to learn bass, awesome. Good choice. That's what I learned first. Got my first bass at 8. And over the years, it's been about 20 years since then, actually. Um, I've learned a few things about picking out an instrument, specifically stringed instruments. But again, bass being my first, I know the most about these guys. Um, so I feel like I should probably pass that information along to you. There is a few things you are going to want to make sure you know or actually have an idea of prior to shopping for your first instrument. And for those of you who are buying an instrument for somebody, say for Christmas as an example, that's how I got my first bass, these will also hold true. So I would say first and foremost, have somebody who knows how to play guitar and or bass. Somebody who can maybe test out the instrument, see if it's in good shape, if it's a quality instrument that is sturdy and everything's working properly. Those are going to be very, very big factors to make sure that you, if you are the one learning the instrument, or say your kid or nephew or whoever it is who's wanting to learn, will enjoy the instrument. Once you found the person that is going to be actually doing the maybe testing for you to kind of make sure everything's sturdy and whatnot, make sure you have an idea of how much you want to spend. When you are buying an electric instrument, you're not just going to have to buy the bass in this case. You're going to have to get a patch cable, amplifier. You can't see it, it's out of the frame there, but it's there. And very necessary to make noise with an electric instrument, along with a tuner and probably a strap so you can play standing up, and ideally a case and whatnot. The basic essentials to having a bass. But you're going to want to make sure you have a good idea of what your budget is, because again, you're not just purchasing this. You need everything that makes it work. So your friend or family member who's helping you find this new bass will be able to kind of give you an idea of what you can expect to spend on all of the other stuff. And once you have that number, you might find out how much you actually want to spend on this. After that point, what type of bass do you want? Now, my personal suggestion is to start off with something like this. When I say like this, I do not mean a Fender. I mean a bass that has a split coil pickup like that, volume knob, and a tone knob. This is one of the most simple setups you can find on an electric bass. And simple is key in this case. You are already learning a new instrument. Maybe your kid is learning a new instrument. You do not need to overcomplicate things by getting a more complicated instrument. This will do just fine for any learner. And on top of it, there are plenty of pros that use basses that are just like this one. Now, you do not actually need, again, to have a Fender bass. This is a Fender Japanese, made in Japan, model. But there are other brands that will still have this split coil pickup. Everything from Squier, which is kind of a subsidiary of Fender. They'll be the same basic shape and whatnot. Ibanez and so on and so forth. They're all over the place. And because they're so simple, generally you'll find them a little cheaper than something a little bit more complicated. So it'll help your budget out. But again, simple, plug her in, turn on your volume, play away. If for whatever reason it is very, very necessary for whoever you're purchasing this instrument for to have something other than a P bass, my one suggestion is make sure the bass is not an active bass. Now, what that means is that it actually uses a battery to power the pickups. I won't go too far into it in this video. Just stay away from them for now. In a later video, I'll go over what all that means. But again, stick with this, you'll be just fine. Now, when you are actually out searching for your bass, my suggestion is play as many of them in your price range as you can. So that way you really get a feel for what you want. Because there are differences, even though they may have the same basic setup as far as your pickups go. The neck profile, the shape of it, you know, how the neck meets the body, how it sits on you when you're playing it. All of that will factor in to your decision. If an instrument doesn't feel right to you, not even just how it sounds, if it doesn't feel right in your hands, you're not going to want to play it as much. So make sure you are comfortable with the instrument. On top of that, I do recommend that when you're searching in this price range, the one you laid out, try something that is maybe a step down and maybe a step up. So that way you know, hey, is my price range on point? Is this what I really, really want? Or will a cheaper one do the trick? As long as it's good quality, of course. Don't skimp on that. It's better to buy a more expensive instrument that is actually in good shape and will do what you want it to do than to just buy something because it's cheap. Good friend of mine always says, cry once, better than spending a lot of money crying and then realizing it didn't actually do what you wanted it to do, and then buy something else and then cry again. It's cheaper the first time around if you just get it right. Also, what that will do is if you try something that's maybe a step up, a higher quality, it will tell you, hey, is this worth doing, you know, taking the leap and putting down a little bit more money at the outset and maybe enjoying the instrument more. It is very, very true that if you buy a better quality instrument and you end up sticking with it, if this is something that you're going to continue doing, odds are that instrument will work for you longer. I had what I would call 2 basses before I had a bass that I was confident in a professional setting. I had played in orchestra and jazz band with some of the earlier ones, but my third bass was really what I knew, hey, this will be good on stage. I know that this will be a good sounding, good, reliable instrument. But again, budget is important. Don't go too far. But it is true that you can buy an instrument that will be better for you longer for those reasons, just quality-wise and sound-wise and whatnot. But last but not least, and this cannot be overstated, is how your instrument sounds. Now, I'm not just talking about how the instrument sounds through an amp. That is important, obviously, for an electrical instrument. But, I'm going to turn off the volume here. This instrument, any bass you play, even if it's not acoustic, is still an acoustic instrument. Now what that means is these strings vibrate to make a sound, which then your pickups are able to, for lack of a better word, sense and then translate to your amp. So when you're playing this not amplified, does it ring out? Does it sound good? Now, I don't know how much is being picked up by my awesome cell phone microphone right now, but a good quality built instrument should resonate well enough for you to hear it clearly. Obviously, in a music store, it might be kind of loud, but does it sound good acoustically? You can always switch out pickups. These things can be removed and replaced for a better set of pickups. But replacing a body and a neck is a whole different thing. While you can do it, it basically becomes a different instrument. So you want to make sure that the construction all through here is solid enough, is quality built enough to make the whole instrument resonate well. Everything after that can be changed. The strings, your tuning pegs, the bridge if you need to, and even the pickups, all of that stuff. But if the instrument, as it's constructed, as it's joined here, if it doesn't resonate, if it doesn't work well on its own, no point in getting it. Now, I hope that helped. I'm always open to answering questions. If you are curious about, buying your first bass, definitely let somebody you know who plays instruments know about it. They are, I would hope, more than happy to help you out in that endeavor. For me, my Uncle David was the one who actually ended up picking out my first bass, which again was a P-style bass, precision, if you will. And then my parents ended up getting it for my, Christmas about 20 years ago. So that was my big Christmas gift for that year. And my life, it was forever changed after that. It is a great investment. It is something, again, you can do for as long as you live, and I don't think you'll regret it. So good luck. If anything comes up, let me know. I'm happy to give my 2 cents on anything. And keep playing, enjoy, and stay warm. It's getting a little chilly out there.